Hey everybody, this is Bonnie Barker with Bonnie Bake Crochet, and welcome to Friday Fun Live. As you can see, I'm improvising a little bit today. I'm actually coming to you live from Tampa Bay, Florida, right downtown, in case those of you are familiar with that. I wanted to do it outside so you can see the beautiful sunshine and everything, but honestly, there was so much noise and just a lot of wind and things, so I wouldn't have been able to do that. It wouldn't have been very effective. But anyway, glad that you can join me. I'm glad I have internet well enough to do this. It's been a whirlwind kind of a week. I'm looking at my agenda of things to talk about, and I'm like, wow, it hasn't even been a week, and I feel like some of these things on my list have been like a month ago. Well, let me go ahead and start just by greeting some of you. Brad's mom, it's so good to have you in the chat. Yeah, Hannah, I don't know. We probably don't need to talk about that today, sweetheart, but let me go ahead and talk. Anyway, getting back to greeting folks. Brad's mom says, "Good morning, Bonnie, Hannah, and Becky, and all my dear Yarnies from a sunny and cool Southwest Chicago suburbs. Have a blessed day, everyone. Please, friends, don't forget to smash that thumbs up button. Thank you for that reminder, Linda. I so appreciate that. And Miss Wanda, it's so good to have you in our chat. She says, beautiful day in North Carolina, praying for everyone. Thank you. And Angie, good morning to you. And Kim and Stephanie and Heather, she says, hello, everyone. It's a gorgeous day in Maryland. Praying you all are doing well. And Mary says, pretty much the same thing. Morning, everyone. Windy but gorgeous fall day in Maryland. You don't want me, make me want to get back home. I'll am planning on flying back home tomorrow. So hopefully we'll have, a good flight. We had a beautiful flight down here. It was not bumpy at all, just smooth sailing. So I'm hoping that, well, flying rather, hoping that that will be the same for tomorrow. Please forgive the jitteriness of the video today because I don't really have a firm foundation and with the lighting and everything. So thanks for being patient with that. We have Ekstrom in the chat. Good morning, and Sandra and Tammy and Ola Joe, the crocheting sailor. Good morning to you too, and Nancy and Martha. Martha says it's a beautiful day in Southern Cal. And Kathleen from Philadelphia. And again, Hannah, thank you so much for being there and making this group chat so much more friendly. Um, and Ola Joe says, TGIF, Hannah, happy you are here. Yes, ma'am. And Nancy Brewer, good to have you. And Phil, good to see you in the chat, Phil. Hope you got my message about the list of the vendors and all. I'm hoping that you did. Concerning the Fiber Festival, let me go ahead and talk about that to get started. We had a wonderful time. Come on, where'd it go? Where'd it go? There it is. At the Frederick Fiber Festival. That was just 6 days ago. My back is still recovering. I've done well with that. The back didn't totally disengage like it did last year, about a year ago. I was just real careful, and my husband helped me load everything up to go home. So we're still doing okay. We're still kind of on the tender watch, if you know what I mean, if for those of you who've had back issues. So I've enjoyed being down here, the flight getting down. We did a lot of walking the first day, and then the next day I just stayed rested, still spent a lot of time working on video edits and things for the Bonnie Bay Crochet YouTube channel. So I'm not idling. I'm not, just lying in a pool somewhere, although it doesn't sound so bad. That's just not the way I roll, quite honestly. So I do feel good when I'm getting some things done. So I was able to get more videos edited for future, and I've got something else to show you in just a bit. But anyway, the Frederick Fiber Festival was amazing. It was very heavily attended. I got to meet a lot of you first, face to face, and that was my delight to be able to do that. We got a lot of books moved out of my inventory, which is like wow. I mean, we had the best, our best festival ever as far as the sales of books. So I was very, very pleased with that because that meant less things I had to lift and haul back into the car on the way home. Um, and a special treat, I didn't know this person was even near where I live. I found out that a fellow crochet designer and author from many years back, she has published many things in Crochet World magazine. I like Crochet magazine, just you name the magazine, she's been in it. And she has several beautiful leisure arts crochet leaflets. Her name is Joyce Giesler. So some of you may recognize the name. A wonderful woman, got to meet her. She's also found out, unfortunately, newly widowed within the year. So, um, you know, life is full for her. So I'm really looking forward to getting together with her and maybe even doing a video introducing her to you, or for those of you who aren't familiar with who she might be. She has been designing for a long time. So she was designing way before the internet took off and all the social media stuff became a thing. So she was, pretty much a rock in the industry for many years before that. So I'm really looking forward to you, for you to be able to meet her. And if you're not sure who she is, look her up, Joyce Geisler, Geisler, and check out some of the beautiful things she does. She does a lot of filet crochet too. So those of you who are more into the filet crochet, which is, using the thread and the really tiny hooks, she's a master of that. So let me just tell you a little bit. And I'll get back to the greeting comments. I got to tell you about this town that, for being a Floridian, I should have known about this place. Just up the road of actually up the trolley line, because I am carless during this trip. We are on a government trip. My husband um, has a governmental job, so he's working all the time. I am just sharing the hotel room with him basically, and on my own dime. But it's been wonderful here because I've not really ever spent extended time in Tampa, even though I was born and raised in Hialeah. Back in the day, to make a 4.5, 5 hour trip on land was out of range, just out of the realm of possibilities for my family. So we didn't do hardly any traveling outside of our little county there in Hialeah, Miami area. So anyway, I kind of accidentally discovered there's this wonderful historic town called Ybor City, spelled Ybor City, founded many, many years ago by Spanish and Cuban and South American peoples. Um, okay, Scanna wants me to repeat the name of the crocheter. I mentioned Joyce Geisler. Let me go ahead and write her name in the chat so you can look her up. I hope I'm saying her last name right, but so be it. But anyway, getting back to Tampa. So right near Tampa, I mean, just it's like a neighborhood over from where we are. There's a place called Ybor City, and it's been around forever. In fact, there's a restaurant that we ate at, which I highly recommend. If you come to the Tampa area, you got to find this restaurant. It's called Columbia. And yeah, the family has been here since 1905. It's a Spanish restaurant. They even had flamenco dancing in another room, a live dancer, and she looked amazing. It was just sounded great. Um, but anyway, had a meal to beat the band. I mean, it was fabulous. I can't pronounce the name of the food that I had, but it was just really, really wonderful. And it's like a highly acclaimed restaurant. And they have other restaurants here too. And there's another one called Santo Stefano, Casa Santo Stefano. We ate there with my cousin who lives nearby and his wife. And that's an Italian restaurant. And I had, again, another fabulous meal. I told my husband they're going to have to roll me onto this plane if we keep doing this because the food has been just amazing. But anyway, I wanted to show you some other things about Ybor City and talk about it. I went back to the restaurant yesterday on the trolley, and it's just so much fun when you ride this trolley. It's like you're going back to the early 1900s. It's an electrical thing that goes throughout, and it has the decor of about early 1900s. It's beautiful with the warm woods and everything. But anyway, I wanted to show Hannah. Hannah, I got you a magnet for your refrigerator, girl. And is it that's how you spell Ybor City? And what's interesting about the chickens is locally there in the park, they have wild chickens, just they just live there. And as you're walking around town, you have to be careful because every so often you'll see chickens just walking nearby. It's quite an interesting thing. And they do have an organization, I think, that kind of helps them with their, with their well-being and everything. Okay. Oh my goodness. Someone just sent in $50. Oh my gosh. Heather, thank you so much. You're going to get us started to the next donation, I see. Let me go ahead and write that down. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to put that up there, $50 and I am going to continue to match, just to let you know. I will match anything that comes in, and once we get to 100, I'll do a song. I still owe you a song. I just don't have my guitar with me here in Florida. I owe you a song next week, and I hope to be able to deliver on that. Let's see. I wanted to tell you a little bit more about Ybor City. I was able to get this beautiful clock with the guitar. I can't really sing a good song with this guitar, but I thought this was just so beautiful. And the dark blue is going to match my kitchen perfectly. So I got that just as a memento from Ybor City and from the Columbia restaurant. And I asked the lady about where all this comes from. And I was really excited to find that this is all made in Toledo, Spain, which is really cool. It's a Spanish family, and they're getting the things that they sell there from Spain. They had beautiful dishes and all kinds of beautiful pottery there. So that was more on the lesser expense scales that I could bring home in my suitcase without too many problems. So, and again, getting back to Heather, that is super generous of you. Thank you so much. And just to let you know, we are going to be giving again to Samaritan's Purse. I'm going to at least do that one more time before moving back to the other, charities that we give to. I'm going to go back to my list here. I'm having to work from my phone since I didn't have a way to print some of the stuff out that I use. Well, let me show you some other things that I got from Ybor City. Had a really fun time just walking around there yesterday. And I was not shopping for yarn. I promise you, cross my heart, I was not looking for yarn. But walking down the sidewalk, and there's one of those big signs just sitting there on the sidewalk for pop yarns. It wasn't a store that had a storefront. You had to kind of go in and upstairs to find where this was. And so I'm like, game on. I can do that. And was just had a wonderful, delightful time talking to the young lady who was the store owner there. And I came home with something. This was the culprit. This yarn, which you probably can't see it the way I see it with the video, but I saw just the evenness of the speckles and the beautiful colors. And it was sitting right next to this yarn. And I thought, oh my goodness, that is beautiful. And then I grabbed this from the other side and thought, this is a very unusual pairing. Usually you wouldn't pair, the two warm colors, but I thought, I think we can make this work. So if you see something like this coming from me, probably in the spring, you'll know it came from Florida, from Ybor City. And she was giving away this was her trick or treat, because yesterday was Halloween. So she was giving these away to the people who came in, which is really fun. And I got this. This is a way to find out what size knitting needle or crochet hook you're using by the diameter. So I thought, oh my goodness, with the shape of the state of Florida, that has got to come home with mama. So brought that home as well. And it was just fun to be able to help out, a local here in Florida. And I think that's pretty much, and I did get a couple other things. I'm not going to show it because I don't know, it might be, I don't know, a violation of uh, YouTube. But anyway, I will just tell you, rather than show you, that Ybor City is also famous. It used to be the world center of hand cigar rolling, making cigars by hand. And I was able to learn some of the history at the visitor center. And it sounds like it was a wonderful community at one time, and it's nice to see now that they're starting to revitalize it more. They are preserving a lot of the historic buildings and repurposing them, and it's just a really nice place. I really hope that it continues to be revitalized. They could use a church there for sure. They could probably use some women's clothing stores and stuff like that, and maybe fewer tattoo parlors. But it's a mix of things there. But I do see it changing and like I say, being revitalized. And I would love to come back in a few years and just to see how it's changed and grown. So let me see, what else do we have? Let me get back to greeting you all, and then I'll go over a little bit more of my agenda. Oh, we have Kathleen from Philadelphia. Welcome, Kathleen. And Martha joining us from Southern Cal. Wow. Um, I may have read those before, but I'm catching up finally. Okay, I think I did read this, but that's okay. It's good to say hey more than once. Thank you, Sandra. She likes the clock, and Nancy does too. Thank you. Just something little, I can stick in my kitchen just to remind me. And I need another clock in there. Um, and Angela says, hello, watching from work in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I'm still working on the Celtic Star blanket. Yay, Angela. Yeah, you know what? These projects, I'm going to keep releasing things here and there, but it's not a race. I just, do what you can when you can. Um, and Nancy says, that's so funny about the chickens. That's a thing in Hawaii on the island of Kauai. Wow. I did not know that. It's kind of interesting because when we first went there, it was in the evening and we were walking through this park and the chickens were up in the trees. I mean, they fly like up into trees, which is really kind of interesting. It's not something you think about. You think of chickens, pecking around on the ground in the barnyard, not up in the trees. But yeah, they fly. Um, oh, thank you, Heather. Again, thank you, thank you, thank you. Um, Ooh, Phil says there used to be a place called Sunset Grill on the eastern side of Tampa that is known for their key lime pie. They won awards at food competitions. Wow. I would love to get some of that. Um, Kind of an interesting thing, Phil, when I was growing up in Hialeah, we had a lime tree in our backyard and we would make limeade more than lemonade because we had all the limes available. Um, just wonderful, wonderful fruit. My dad had so many plants and things, tropical plants and all, including orchids growing in our yard. And good morning, Mrs. Debbie LW from California. And Lynn, so glad to have you in the chat. Um, and oh yeah, Sharon says, good morning, good afternoon. I love Busch Gardens, Tampa. It has been years since I've been there. Yeah, we can actually see it now that the air is clear. We can look in the distance because we're up on the 17th floor. You can see for miles, and we can look just across there, and we can actually see the tops of the roller coasters from our hotel room. But not going to be doing that. Like again, like I said, don't have a car. If I can't walk there or take the trolley, ain't going. um, And Lynn says, "Yes, I love to ride them." I guess talking about the, roller coasters, when I go to visit my 2 sons and grandbabies in Memphis, Tennessee. I'm enjoying myself. Yeah, excellent. Um, oh, thank you, Katie. Katie says, "I always suggest you at work when people buy yarn." Thank you. Thank you so much, Katie. That's so kind of you. Um, thank you, Nancy, for letting Phil know the name, yeah, of Joyce. And okay. All right. Okay. I'm gonna just keep on going here. Yeah, you can go ahead and talk about that, Hannah, if you want to. Um, I'll just mention too. Y'all are asking about Hannah's school, and I really appreciate that. Just with the responsibilities that Hannah is carrying right now with elder care, which is a priority, and we're just basically pushing the pause button on school. So so thank you so much for the way you've cared for Hannah. Um, and with Hannah recently having been sick and the school having a no makeup policy, you had to take a test, whatever, even if you were on bed rest for a week, which she kind of was. And then 2 weeks later had an ER trip to the hospital, etc. She's fine. But with all of that, and the school just kept rolling right along, and Hannah just really needs to be available. Um, hold on a second. Oh, I gotta move my leg. Really needs to be available for Grandma Barker. That's the life priority right now. Um, so anyway, school is put on pause. It's not quit, it's just kind of it's paused. So, if you could just pray for her on that, because I know people like to ask questions and assume things. That's really none of their business. But and a lot of times, like we've talked here, people don't understand what it's like caring for somebody. I'm not going to get into all that, but if you're a caretaker, and I know many of you have done that, you know what I'm talking about. So thank you for caring for Hannah, and Hannah, thank you for being here for us. Okay, honey. Um, yeah, life happens, and sometimes life takes a turn here and there, and I believe it's all for the best, and it will work out. It will work out in its time. I'm just looking over here to see what do I have to show you. I have one more thing before we're done today, but I wanted to get back. Oh yeah, I want to get back to my list. Okay. Just to let you know, in case you haven't seen, I did release 2 videos since we last met. On Monday, I released a video, just a very short video, I think it's like 3 or 4 minutes long, just a slideshow of some of the happenings at the Frederick Fiber Festival. So if you've never been to one of those, you can check that out. Now, I must say that I did not take many pictures at all. I did not really have the time because I was pretty much by myself at the booth. So I do have it's just a handful of pictures that are there. But there were 4 or 5 buildings, 1, 2, 3, I think 4 full buildings of vendors. There were over 120, I think around 125 vendors. So that was pretty spectacular. And I did not take pictures of really any other building but mine, and that was just a few. So it was quite an event. Um, and I also released a video with the question, the best crochet hooks ever? Question mark, question mark, question mark. Um, and that was in regard to the Knit Pro crochet hooks that I showed you last week. I don't have them with me to show you now, but definitely check out the video. It is totally an honest review. It's not an arm twisting, um, you've got to buy these hooks kind of a thing, because somebody is paying me to say that. I don't rock or roll that way. These were purchased out of my own funds. I was very curious when I first saw them at a yarn store. So I wanted to evaluate them, play with them for a while. And after I did that, I do talk through my personal opinion on these hooks. They are inline hooks. So if you're a tapered hook fan, which is usually the brand Boy Hook, and I think some of the Clovers, I don't know, Clovers might be kind of in between the two. But if you're more of a Boy Hook fan, Boye, these are probably not for you. If you're a Susan Bates fan, the inline hook, you might want to look at the review just to see if this is something that you would like or not. But anyway, that video is available. I spent yeah, I was working hard getting that one out. Uh, it's sitting in the Florida sunshine, which got up to about 87 degrees. And then I moved into the Florida AC. So, anyway, I have another class coming up for you for the watch subscribers. I will be teaching, I'm hoping to be teaching a class on multiple ways to crochet ribbing. This will be on November 14th from 2 to 4 p.m. This is the Thursday afternoon. And what I'm going to do there, if you are a watch subscriber, you don't have to sign up. I'm just going to send the link to everybody who's a watch subscriber so you can join as you will. I will also try to record this one and have it uploaded to the channel later on. And if those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, the watch channel is another way to watch my videos. In this case, it's a paid subscriber channel. It's $7.95 a month or $79.50 a year. You can watch all my content or most of my content, the better part of it anyway. Plus, there's additional content that does not appear in my public YouTube channel. And you also are able to download PDFs of many of the designs instead of having to pay, from another store. So it's kind of a nice little perk if you like doing the kind of crochet that I do. It is a good way to get patterns very efficiently. And you can also participate in our Zoom classes, which I'm trying to make them about once a month. And those are just some little perks. And again, it's totally ad free, spam free, commercial free. And what else do I have here on my list before I get back to the chat? All right. So let me go ahead and get back to saying hey to you guys. Again, thanks, Phil, for the tip about the Sunset Grill. I will look it up and see how far it is. But if it's too far, you said it's on the east side. And I'm right on the west side, but I'm right at the bay. So I may not be able to do that this time, but maybe next time. If I drive down here with my car, I'll be able to go more places then. And let's see. Give me a minute to catch up. Oh, thank you, Lynn. Lynn likes the clock too. Thank you, guys and gals. And thank you, Jesus Joy 7. Glad that you're in the chat here. Says, I pray you all are doing well. Blessings to all. Thank you. Yes. Ekstrom says, what a nice idea to have chickens walking around town. Yeah, and people know to stop for them. It's just really weird, but it's really funny. Especially you'll see these roosters in the middle of the day just start going off. It's like their clock is wrong or something. But it's kind of interesting, just a blend of city sounds or little small town sounds along with the chickens. Um, And Stephanie says, I don't look for yarn when I go places, but yarn finds me. Stephanie, that's exactly what happened to me. It just, I don't know. It knows I was in the area. And then the sign went boom. Well, not really. The sign was there, but I had not seen it before. Of course, had to find it. And good morning, Ramona from Anchorage, Alaska. Making me cold. Um, welcome, welcome. And let's see. Thank you guys. Y'all like the yarn I see. Stephanie says, very beautiful yarn, but I find it hard to find something to make with those. Things to make with those hanks. I think they are size 3. Yeah, I like to make scarves and shawls with number 3 weight yarn. I mean, number 1 number one weight yarn. In fact, let me show you one that I started. This is you're gonna probably recognize these stitches, and I'm calling this what am I gonna call this? The Saxon Sunshine Scarf. So this is what I like to do. It using the Saxon cable, and I have two kind of shorter elongated cables on the side and the basket weave. So this was just kind of fun working on this while I was on the plane, flying down here, and I'll probably work on it some more. And this is yarn. Let me show you. Do I have the tag for it? I really don't want to take the tags out of the middle. Eh, I'll tell you about the yarn later at a future date. But yeah, I love doing this thinner fingering weight or sock weight yarn, because then I can make my chunky cables, but then the actual item is not going to be super chunky. It's something that's very comfortable to wear around the neck. And also when you buy these type of hanks, like this is Malabrigo yarn, the sock weight. This is 100% superwash merino, and each of these hanks has 440 yards. That's a lot of yards. Okay, so what's the name of the yarn? Maybe I should. I just don't like. I put the name in the middle, and then it may be hard to get it out. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Okay, this is back to the yellow yarn with the Saxon Sunshine Scarf. And wouldn't you know, I took the one out that doesn't have the name of the company because it tore. Try this again. All right, let's try this one. I put them in the middle so I don't forget what yarn I'm working with, because it's easy for me to do that. Okay, this is called, okay, this is the name of the company, Create Yarn Works, and I'll hold it up there so you can see the name, and you can look them up or see the phone number. It's Create Yarn Works, and this is 85% superwash merinos, 15% nylon. It's a fingering weight, 440 yards. It's called Goldilocks. That's this yellow. And the reason what I do is I fold these up like this. And when I roll these up and I stick it in the center of the ball, that way I always know where the yarn came from. Because if there's a chance I forget, what was the brand? Who was the indie dyer? That could be disastrous. All right, so yeah, you can look that up if you are interested in that. Now the other one is Malabrigo. This is, these three are all Malabrigo sock yarn. And let's look at so I'll let you look at the color and the numbers if that's interesting. So this is actually yarn that you can buy online. And I found this was very, very economically priced, 100% merino wool. And each of these were only, okay, it's going to be pricier than your Red Heart yarn. So if you're sitting down, each of these were $20. But when you go into hand dyed yarn, I mean, this is a much larger company, which is why they can offer it, I think, at a lower price. But usually when you buy indie dyer yarn, it's usually like 25, 35, 36, 38, 40. Can be, very expensive, depending on the fiber, whether it's, silk, wool, whatever. If you come up with some more exotic natural fibers, then it can be even more expensive. So yeah. Um, and Sharon says, I am never looking for yarn, but I always end up coming home with a bunch of stuff. I will say, in my defense, I only came home with 3 hanks of yarn from an entire fiber festival. Only 3. So I feel like that's exhibiting extreme self-control. Also, I was just too busy. if I had had more time, I probably would have done more damage. But as you know, we always turn our little expenditures into design. So that's what I'm all about. Um, and Hannah wants to know, is the pattern out already for purchase? The Saxon Sunshine Scarf. No, 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 no. I'm sorry. Sorry, guys. This one here that I just showed you, this is this is this is in my head right now. This is being designed right now, and I'm in the middle of recording it. And once I do the film editing, complete the design, uh, do the writing, and get the editing done, it's a long process. Once I get that done, that it will be up. I'm thinking maybe this would be a good spring to early summer kind of a design. So thank you for asking that, Hannah. Okay, I'm getting a little bit behind here. Well, I could repeat it, Hannah, but I stuck the card back in the middle here. Okay, so we're asking about this again. Okay, this is called Create Yarn Works. Okay, now that's fine, Hannah. Create Yarn Works is the name um, of the fiber company. Well, it's actually a single person who is like me. It's just one person show, and she is the independent dyer, and she's local. She's in the Maryland area, maybe either Maryland or just north of us. I think in Pennsylvania. So I think she is from Pennsylvania. Thank you, Heather, for your kind words. She says the Watch Channel is stellar, worth every penny and then some. Thank you. I really want it to be a value for people. Um, And Jesus Joy 7, I love your comments. It says to Hannah, you have to take care of yourself. I understand about caregiving. It's stressful and tiring, especially when there are patient health issues. Praying for God's divine health and patience. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Please, thank you for praying for Hannah. Um, okay, Salisbury, Maryland. Okay, great, Hannah. She looked it up. Thank you for doing that. And thank you, Angela, for encouraging Hannah. Yeah, and Virginia says, I was a caretaker and at times fill in for my friends, and always they come first if at all possible. Remember, one day we will be there as well. Yes, I do. That is one thing that I keep in mind because we've been through this with my mom for more than 15 years. And then now with my husband's mom. And yeah, and I miss my mom terribly at times. I don't miss a lot of the trouble and the work, but I do miss the camaraderie, the fellowship, and all of that. So yeah, it is hard. But yeah, we will be there and be on the receiving end at some point, and some point sooner than later, for many of us. We have coffee, barbecue, and crafts. Woo! I will definitely be praying for Hannah. I understand caregiving is both physically and emotionally exhausting. Yes, it is. And that emotionally exhausting does affect the physical. Yes, it does. So thank you for understanding that. I told you, Hannah. You guys, you ladies and men and women in this chat, you guys get it. So thank you. Um, don't need to apologize or make excuses for life. I mean, and Hannah has been serving heroically, and yeah. Sandra says sometimes we have to take a pause, Hannah. Nothing wrong with that. Always good to realize when you need to focus on you. Yep, you'll be fine. And thank you, Nessa, for your comment as well. Just the encouragement. Thank you all for doing that. Um, and Stephanie says, life happens and we keep going. Our family isn't promised every day, and school will always be there. And you will be blessed because God sees all good things. Yes. And that's the thing, the verse that really keeps us going. Um, it comes from the book of James. I don't know the exact chapter and verse, but it's in there. It's in the book of James, and he talks about how true religion is caring for orphans and widows in their distress. So even if the academic community doesn't understand, they need to understand. They need to get a better picture of life for one thing. But yeah, God sees. Even if you don't do it for everybody else. We're doing this. We're doing a lot of what we do for an audience of one, and that does matter. So thank you all, Gee Whiz, for your kind, encouraging words for Hannah. Nancy Brewer says, "I'm sorry you were sick. Glad you're better now. Praise for you." Okay. Yeah, and talking about yarn again, Jesus Joy 7 says, "I've gotten myself in trouble when yarn companies ended on the internet." Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm guessing you mean like that you run out and you can't get more. Is that, I'm thinking that's maybe what you're referring to there. Um, Yeah, and getting back to the chickens, Angela says chickens can fly for a distance if you don't clip their wings. I do remember that because I won't tell you the horror story what happened, but all I got to say is when my mom was living in South Florida, she had a very beautiful big dog. The neighbor had chickens, and my mom kept telling her because the chickens would fly over into the yard, and the dog was not very kind to them. So my mom talked to the neighbor and says, "I know how to clip a chicken's wing because I used to do that on a farm with my family. Let me help you. I'll be glad to clip the wings." And what happens is the chickens will be off balance so that you just clip one wing a little bit so that they can't become airborne. And the neighbor's like, "Oh no, it'll be fine." Well, it wasn't fine. And that's all I'll say about the matter. But yeah, also, I tell you one thing. This, I'm going way off track here, but years ago we had a peacock come into our yard. With the big long. It was a male peacock with those big, beautiful tail feathers. They can fly. They can fly high up into trees as well. Never seen that before because we were trying to corral the bird to get it back to its home, its owner, which was about a mile away. We ended up scaring it up into a big black walnut tree, and he stayed there all night. So anyway, it just the birds that you don't think about as flying, it is amazing. Yeah, like with the chickens, I just didn't think them being flying vertically, but they do. Yeah. Um, and thank you, Virginia. She says blessings. Yes, the three colors look great together. I love the Florida yarn size chart. Yeah, isn't that cool? I'll share that to y'all again. I just thought that was really cool. So this is going to become very handy for me, especially I'm using a set of hooks now that aren't as color coded like I'm used to. So I might need to use that just to yeah, to determine the hook size. And Phil says one does not look for yarn to yarn finds you. Yeah, yep. I think you got that one right, Phil. Okay, so I'm trying to catch up here with everybody. If I miss your comment, I promise it's not on purpose. I'm trying to be very judicial here as I go through. And again, thank you so much for your encouragement for Hannah. Um, okay. And thank you, Linda, for Brad's mom about the Watch Channel. I appreciate your endorsement there. And if you all want to hit on that thumbs up button, that would be kind of cool. No pressure. Nancy says roosters crow at all times of the day, not just in the early morning. Yeah, isn't that something? Yeah, they do. I do remember my parents' house in Florida. This was, going back at least probably 30 years ago. But I remember staying, and we'd always have our windows open because you get the Florida breezes coming through, and the neighbors had chickens, and so like from about 4 a.m. on, you'd hear this rooster. And since we had our windows open because we did not have central air conditioning, you'd hear this bird start at about 4 a.m. and he just kept a going. I mean, like you said, it was all day, but I may or may not have threatened the bird. I wouldn't either confirm nor deny, but I was dreaming of a, well, I won't go into it. I'm an animal lover, but I didn't love that rooster next door at 4 a.m. in the morning when I was on vacation and visiting my folks in Florida. But anyway, and Rosalie says, we have turkeys walking around here and cars have to stop. Oh boy. Um, I'm glad you like the yarn, Stephanie. Rosalie, yeah, I mean, around where I am in Maryland, we have Canada geese that kind of have taken over certain parts, and they've tried to take over our yard. But my husband has a remote control truck that he kind of uses to encourage them to stay beyond the fence because when they come into the yard, they leave stuff behind that we really don't want to have left behind, and that's all I'll say. um, Thank you for your encouragement, Lynn, on the scarf, and yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Stephanie, for asking about the scarf. Yeah, it's still in process. We're still working on it. Uh, Yeah, and Nancy likes the Malabrigo yarn. Yes, it is very nice. I actually used Malabrigo yarn on the Celtic weave scarf in my very first book, the contemporary Celtic crochet. No, 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 it wasn't Celtic. It was the second book, Celtic cable crochet, and I that was my first experience with hand dyed yarn. It was from Malabrigo, and yeah, I'm I'm sold on it. It's good yarn. Actually got to meet him, got to meet the owner as well at a conference back in January 2020 at the Vogue Knitting Live, the only time I'd been there back when I was working and helping my friends with Good Loops yarn. Stephanie, if you remember Stephanie. Thank you, Liz, for your encouragement. And okay, Phil says useful when playing yarn chicken and needing more. um, yeah, I'm not sure what that's in reference to, Phil. I probably missed another part of the conversation. Lynn says that's my kind of yard. Yeah, Nancy says $20, great price. Yeah, I was surprised that it was only 20 each. We're also in Florida. Florida, there is it's just nicer in Florida. They don't have state taxes here. You have sales taxes, but you don't have, like at the end of the year when you have to file for your income tax, your federal, they don't have state income tax. And the cost of living is better than where I am in Maryland, hands down. Um, and you only need one season of clothing. You don't need to have two wardrobes. And Coffee Barbecue and Craft says, I love the tonal look of hand dyed yarn. Looking forward to seeing the finished scarf. Yeah, me too. Thank you, Hannah, for finding that information on the yarn. And Brat's mom says, I help my cousin with her mother, my aunt, who is 98 years old. I go twice a week to give my cousin a break so she can get out, run errands, etc. That is very kind of you, Linda, to do that. That is wonderful. And we have Diane from, is it Estero, Florida? Just got here. Well, welcome, Diane. And we have, what's it, when yarn? Okay, Jesus Joy 7 says, when yarn companies entered the, I guess, wide world web, that gave me more outlets to purchase yarn. In San Diego County, we have only 4 yarn stores. I purchase yarn from overseas. Yeah, it really did, and one good thing about the internet too, I mean, I do encourage people to buy locally if you can, if you have a good working relationship with somebody, it's great, to have someone that you can walk in and talk to. I have, like, maybe one of those, maybe 2 in my area, but one that has been consistent and open. I'm gonna hold on a second, I'm going to reposition my leg so that I can, there we go, get the circulation going again. But anyway, Lana Ford with So Original Her booth was actually right next to mine at the Frederick Fiber Festival, so that was kinda cool. We didn't plan it that way, it just worked out. But, she's been my go-to person as a yarn store consultant, very knowledgeable on all sorts of yarn, and she's the one that has taught me more than anybody. But, yeah, but I do the same. I can get some things from her. She doesn't carry everything. Obviously, fiber festivals is a great way to meet other locals who are doing the work right in their home. And I love crafts, which has an online community, and that's where I have my pattern store, and they have wonderful prices on acrylics and, well, on all sorts of yarns, but I particularly go to them for the acrylic yarn. Yeah, it's great. But what I was gonna say, okay, this is where I was going with that. What I was gonna say about the internet, I know some people say, "Oh, don't order from the internet," but there are a lot of independent people. If it were not for the internet, I would probably be working a 9 to 5 job, working for a company somewhere else. And I'm really glad that I'm able to stay home and do design work and very lots of fiber oriented things because of the internet and because of the World Wide Web. So I'm just extremely thankful. I mean, this was not even a possibility 20 years ago. So it's a very good, a wonderful way. Yeah, I can engage in my business whether I'm off like I am here, out of state or even out of the country. I can still do my work and catch up and answer questions and everything. So yeah, I think it's a blessing to all. Um, oh, and Linda, Brad's mom says to Hannah, my aunt took very good care of me when I had breast cancer in 1997. It is my privilege to help her out now. God has blessed me so much that I'm still around for her. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I wouldn't be here were it not for my mom who lived with us for many years, and I wouldn't have the family that I do now without my mother-in-law. So I mean, we definitely want to take care and honor them. Uh, and Coffee Barbecue and Craft says on Kauai there are more chickens than people. Oh my goodness, that's a lot of chickens. Although I don't really know the population of Kauai, that is really cool. Talking about taxes, Sharon says, let's not talk about Connecticut. We have state taxes here. Yeah, I think just about it. I think most states do. Sharon, a funny story. When I first moved to South Carolina, they had to explain what state taxes were to me because I had been working as a teenager and had to file federal income taxes, at the end of the year or April 15th or whenever it was. And they're talking to me about all these other different taxes, and I'm like, "What?" I mean, we never had that in Florida, so, and a funny story about taxes, I remember up in, New Hampshire, where they don't even have sales taxes. There are no sale taxes in New Hampshire, unless they've changed something recently. I don't think they have. And there was a lady that we were talking to, a young girl who was working, and we were explaining just how sales taxes work, and she had never been outside the state apparently, and she was like, "What? They add money to what the price is already advertised as?" And I'm like, "Yeah, yeah." And it was just kind of funny, just people's perspectives going from state to state. But yeah, living in Maryland, we're well acquainted with taxes, and that's all I'm going to say about it. Anyway, yeah. Uh, and we have Jet One in says, "Hi Bonnie, sorry to join late. Needed the extra sleep. So great to see you. Oh, get all the extra sleep you need, my friend." Uh, okay. Hey, Freaky Geek is in the chat. Welcome. Good to have you with us. And Felicia, good to have you here. And Nessa says, I miss living in Florida too. Yeah, people are just so much more relaxed here. I really appreciate that. And Carly Crochets, good morning to you. And let me see, am I forgetting anybody up here? Brad's mom says, I love chickens. My friend takes me to visit her daughter's chickens so I can hold them in my lap. I thought about picking up a chicken or two when I was down there, but I didn't want to freak them out. They come right up to you. It's just really funny. And, Stephanie says, "I need to find the red color, I think it was a scarf or poncho you had last week." Hmm. Well, maybe I'll run across that again, Stephanie. Since I'm away from home, I'm not sure which one that you might be talking about. All right. Hmm. And Jesus story talks about there are electronic devices to deter animals. We have many critters. It works for us. We tried something like that, but the neighbor didn't. They got bugged by it, so we didn't use something. It's been a while. It was to used to keep the deer away from my flowers, but it's kind of fun. If we see a bunch of geese invading, we just get the little remote control truck and kind of round them up like a sheepdog would, and let them go back to where they came from. It gives my husband something fun to do too. And Diane says, Estero is just north of Bonita Springs. Okay, great. Uh, Freaky Geek says, but Christmas in Connecticut is a good movie. Don't talk about a place. Yep, I've seen that movie a few times. No, Freaky Geek, I wasn't going to put my foot behind my head. I'd have to call 911 if that happened. um, And Jet One says there will be live chat replay later tonight. Yes, I'll need to watch the replay to catch up, but don't want to miss those comments and links. Yes, it should render with it. It may take an hour or two after the broadcast before all of that is complete, but yeah, that should render with it in time. And yeah, got that. Um, Yeah, Coffee, Barbecue, and Crafts. I think I have that book. Just as a good book to read if you want to learn about fibers is The Knitter's Book of Yarn by Clara Parks. It's really interesting. It's changed how I used yarn for what kind of project. Yeah, I have a couple of books. I think I do have that one as well that I use oftentimes for references to understand about different fibers. Hmm. Nancy Brewer says, I guess that's about New Hampshire. Politicians keep trying to institute a sales tax, but it keeps getting voted down. Well, good. Um, Maybe they should learn to work with what they got, like we have to, right? Um, we don't have the ability to print money. They do. And Nancy Brewer says, here in Oregon, we don't have sales tax, but we do have state taxes. Okay, so Oregon's another one without sales tax. Cool. Um, But all these places, no matter where you live, they'll make up for it one way or the other. So I mean, it kind of evens out, I guess, to some degree. Freaky Geek says, I've seen card dealers, but yarn dealers, oh yeah. And Ekstrom says, indeed, the internet is a marvelous invention. It is. And Lynn says, I'm working on your Bonnie's Wandering Cable Poncho. It will be the second I've done. She says, I've also done your sapphire poncho. I'll be sending you photos. Thank you, Sister Bonnie. Thank you, Lynn. I would love to see photos. You have those beautiful models. I would love to see that. And if y'all looking for ponchos, just look on the playlist on my channel and you'll see lots and lots of ponchos. Well, and Brad's mom talked about the Canadian geese, said that when the Canada geese show up here, they know me. One even stands on my foot and pulls at my treat bag. I guard the one who limps. He's my friend, Gimpy. Aw. My mom used to feed the geese, even though in where we live, the village behind where I am, they don't like that. But my mom was like, whatever. And she would go out and she would still take care of them. Um, Okay, you too, Freaky Geek. Have a wonderful week. And Sharon says, if you're interested in knowing, 9 out of the 50 states are clear from state taxes. Okay, thank you, Sharon. That's interesting. Well, I know Florida is one. That's probably why people are moving here. Uh, okay. Yeah, Ekstrom says, actually, I like paying taxes when they give every citizen and guest the freedom to go to schools, universities, and great health care. But I'm European. So, yeah, I know you guys do pay a lot more taxes than we do too. But yeah, yeah, that's a whole probably a kettle of fish I probably shouldn't get into here. But anyway, um, yeah, because that goes there's a lot mixed up in that. Sharon says, more sheep than people in New Zealand. Yeah, I bet. That's cool. All right. You're right, Nancy. Yeah, it took more than one person to invent the internet. That's for sure. That's kind of funny. And what's my favorite fiber to crochet with? It really depends on the project that I'm working. But if I'm looking for a fiber that I just really look forward to working with, it'd have to be baby alpaca. That's probably my all-time favorite, but I can't use that with everything because it just doesn't show it's not a one yarn suits all, but I do enjoy using the finer things in life. Um, Silk merino blends are another favorite, but I think hands down baby alpaca. And if you want a brand name and everything, Cascade Yarns Pure Alpaca is probably my favorite yarn to date. Yeah, I'll just stick with that. I'm gonna stick with that answer for now. Of course, that my answer to that question is subject to change at any moment's notice. Um, Brad's mom says, "I pay taxes to live here, so no one will dare tell me not to visit with my beloved geese." I agree with you, Linda. You're right. Besides, that was a Montgomery Village rule. We didn't live in the village. Ha 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 ha. So anyway. Um, Oh, coffee, barbecue and craft says, I ordered the yarn to replace my sister's lost Lavina poncho. It arrives today. She cried when I told her I'll redo it. I'm excited to do an even better job since I have some experience with the pattern now. Yeah. For those of you who don't know, Coffee B&B Barbecue and Crafts, she made a poncho, I think shipped it to North Carolina as a gift, and it got destroyed with the hurricane, so she's having to completely redo it. Well, it is now 1:02. Um, hey, Carol, it's good to have you here, man. Good to have you here, lady. Um, Work calls, prayers for our country and the election. God bless America. Thank you, Carol. Absolutely. Well, I wanted to read something to you before we go. And yeah, I mean, this is going to be a big week in the US um, with the election. And definitely, our prayers are definitely going out for our country and just praying for a peaceful um, event. But let me go ahead and I want to read this. This is out of my favorite book, beside, well, second favorite if you Bible's probably the most favorite, but this is Mr. Spurgeon's "Beside Still Waters." If you want to even get a copy of this book, I do have a link in the video description. I've given away more copies of this than I can count, and it just has a daily, just a one page, thing to read. Just takes a couple minutes at the most, but this one is called "Perfect in Weakness." And again, I share this as Christian encouragement, not in any, forceful, domineering way, but just from, I guess, like I heard someone say, just one beggar telling another beggar where to find bread. Um, that's how I look at this. So, and this has been a great source of bread for me over the years, based on the Word of God, and it's based on 2 Corinthians 12:9, and it's called "Perfect in Weakness." And Mr. Spurgeon writes, "Your faith will never be weak when you are weak, but when you are strong, your faith cannot be strong. To the Apostle Paul, Jesus said, "My strength is made perfect in weakness." That's the 2 Corinthians 12:9. The only way to increase our faith is through great trouble. We do not grow strong in faith on sunny days. Only in stormy weather do we obtain it. Strong faith does not drop from heaven in a gentle dew. Generally, it comes in the whirlwind and the storm. Look at the old oaks. How did they become so deeply rooted? The March winds will tell you. It was not the April showers or the sweet May sunshine that caused the roots to wrap around the rock. It was the rough, blustering north winds of March shaking the trees. Life in the barracks do not produce good soldiers. Great soldiers are made amid flying shot and thundering cannons. Nor are good sailors made on calm seas. Good sailors are made on the deep, where the wild wind howls and the thunder rolls like drums. Storms and tempest make tough and hardy sailors. They see the works of the Lord and his wonders in the deep. And that's from Psalm 107, verse 24. It is that way with the Christians. Great faith must have great trials. Bunyan's character would never have been Mr. Greatheart if he had not once been Mr. Great Trouble. Valiant for truth would never have defeated the foes if they had not attacked him. So it is with us. We must expect great troubles before we attain great faith. I hope that's an encouragement to you as much as it was to me. I read that a few days ago and just knew I wanted to share that with you right away. So just wanted to wish you all a wonderful week. I'm so glad I got to visit with you today. Um, and again, if you need to get me during the week, if I was not able to respond to your comment, I'm sorry. If there's something you need, just email me, bonniebay@me.com, and that information is in the video description as well. Well, it's so great being with you all. God bless. Bye bye.